It's a young guy, a.k.a. Kyrie Irving, a.k.a. Uncle Drew, Kyrie, whatever y'all want to call him. This guy, he thought I was blowing smoke up his ass early in the season when I said he can be the best point guard in our league and also be an MVP in our league. And I know every single one of y'all watched that finals. Y'all saw what this guy is capable of doing. And he's only 24 years, oh my goodness. He's only 24. He don't reach his prime for another 3 years. Thank you, Kyrie.
Kyrie Irving has been one of the league's most talented players. From a skills perspective, there is not much this man cannot do on the offensive side of the court. However, the past couple of years, Kyrie Irving has grown to be one of the most polarizing players in the league. A player that's so hard to dissect because he has all the tools to be the best point guard in the league. He's put up the numbers, he's had the moments, yet for some reason is not viewed in the best light from a majority of NBA fans. And today we're gonna take a deep dive into the truth. The truth of why Kyrie Irving is perceived the way he is. But ladies and gentlemen, can I at least get a like on this crispy ass thumbnail? And also a quick shout out to the sponsors of this video, SeatGeek, the best way to get tickets for your live ticketing needs. If you want to see players like Kyrie Irving live in action, SeatGeek has you covered. They show you a color-coded map of the event you want to go to, provide very useful filters in an app that's very intuitive to use. I genuinely use the app outside of sponsorships. It's a very good app, and thanks to SeatGeek, you guys can use the code BSouls for $20 off your first purchase. Links will be in the description.
Kyrie Irving's season is over. His first season in Brooklyn officially done. The Nets announcing yesterday Irving will undergo season-ending arthroscopic surgery on his right shoulder.
So Kyrie Irving decided to opt into a surgery that will officially sideline him for the rest of the 2020 NBA season, meaning that in his first year as a Brooklyn Net, Kyrie Irving managed to only play a total of 20 games throughout his first season. And I honestly wanted to make this video a couple weeks ago, but I figured this would be the perfect timing. I think it's time to start genuinely being concerned about Kyrie's health. And while, knock on wood, so far in his career, Kyrie has not suffered a major ACL tear or torn an Achilles or anything like that, he has suffered a lot of injuries that sideline him for a significant amount of time throughout a season. To put some numbers to it, Kyrie Irving so far in his career has played 9 seasons, and out of those 9 seasons, Kyrie has missed 15 plus games in 5 of them. In 4 of those 5 seasons, he missed 20 plus games. And even in his healthiest season, being the 2015 season where he played 75 games, injuries would still be a problem, as Kyrie would end up suffering an injury in Game 1 of the NBA Finals that ended up sidelining him for the rest of the series. A series that many have made the argument that the Cavs would have won if Kyrie was healthy. But that's exactly the problem. While no one at all is blaming Kyrie for being injury prone, you know, I would like to think that Kyrie doesn't look to get injured year in and year out. But at what point do injuries stop being an excuse? At what point does it start becoming a part of his identity? We can't keep on saying, oh, if he was healthy, they would have won, when year in and year out, health is a problem. And I do believe this is one of the least talked about aspects as to this perception that teams might be better off without Kyrie. As if you're a team and you know the injury risks that come with having Kyrie Irving on your squad, you should be more prepared to play without him than you would if you had any other star. The Boston Celtics look like they were better without Kyrie, not necessarily because they played better without him on the court. It may have just been due to the fact that they've just been so used to playing without him that reintroducing a player that would have to be one of the focal points of your offense, if not the focal point of your offense, is just extremely hard. Added to the fact that the 2018 playoff run really boosted the ego of guys like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, and Marcus Morris into rightfully believing that they deserve touches because of how they performed when Kyrie was not playing. And then the season after, they would have to reintroduce 2 players in Kyrie and Gordon Hayward that originally were supposed to be the 2 best players of the team. I mean, all of that is a recipe for disaster. And now with the Nets, the same thing. I'm not surprised that the Nets may seem a little better without Kyrie this season season when Kyrie played 11 games with that squad while never playing with them before. After he gets injured, they'd go on to play 25 games without him. He'd come back for 4, miss a game, come back for 2, miss another one because of the Kobe tragedy, play 3 games, and then has been out with an injury ever since. I mean, it's hard to really build chemistry and momentum with a player that's in and out of the lineup like that. I'm also sick and tired of these lazy arguments going around social media that definitely show bias against Kyrie. One of them is the record of the Celtics with versus without him in his seasons with the team, as the Boston Celtics without Kyrie would go 12-3 without him last year, which definitely fueled the fire that the Celtics are better without him. Aside from the personnel management problems that I just talked about earlier, and also the injuries effects on the team, can we just take a second to look at the teams that they face without Kyrie? Out of those 12 wins, only 3 of them came from playoff teams. Just 3. Those 3 teams being the 7th seed Brooklyn Nets, the 8th seed Detroit Pistons, and the Philadelphia 76ers. But even the Brooklyn Nets would hand them 2 of their 3 losses without Kyrie last year. So even without Kyrie against the Nets, one of the 3 playoff teams that they beat, they would go 1-2. Like, given that context, does that stat even mean anything? You know, I think them going 14-8 without him the season prior was more impressive when they beat teams like the Raptors and the Blazers twice, the Jazz and the Thunder. That was more impressive. But even then, let's look at the record when Kyrie was on the team, since that's what everyone's been talking about, how they're better without Kyrie. When Kyrie played in the 2017-2018 season, they went 41-19. That's on pace for 56 wins. So what does 14-8 even mean? Now we get to this year when the Celtics have Kemba Walker, and a fun fact, the Boston Celtics are 7-2 in the games that Kemba Walker has not played. Yet I haven't heard a peep about the Celtics being better without Kemba. You know why? Because in those 9 games, the only team that's been anything respectable was the Philadelphia 76ers. Those 6 other wins have come from trash teams. And also, I kind of just thought about this. The last 3 games, Jason Tatum has been averaging 35 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks on 54, 55, 91 splits. If Kyrie Irving was still the point guard of this team and Jason Tatum was putting up those numbers, just imagine how different the narrative would be. Man, Kyrie's holding back Jason Tatum, man. The Celtics are better without Kyrie. But here we are with Kemba Walker. He is not playing. Jason Tatum is exploding. But there is not a single peep about the Celtics being better without Kemba. I know it's not a big sample size, but when have these arguments ever been? So why does it suddenly apply to this 3-game stretch? And I'm not saying this to attack Kemba in any way. I don't believe the Celtics are better without Kemba. I'm just saying that is a double standard that I see between Kyrie when he was a Boston Celtic and Kemba Walker as he's a Boston Celtic this year. So if you guys can keep that same energy with Kemba Walker, where was that in 2018? Where was that last season? I mean, the media did the same thing with Kawhi on the Spurs when they had a winning record when he didn't play. They did the same thing a couple years ago talking about how the Bulls were a 55-win team without MJ, when with him, they were an NBA dynasty. It's the same old flawed argument of penalizing a player for being on a good team. And it somehow trickled into this year just because the Nets were 8-12 with him and are 17-7 without him. Okay, cool, they're not a good team with him on the court, but it's not like they're anything to even brag about without him. However, I do want to talk about Kyrie Irving when it comes to his legacy, because many kind of take for granted that Kyrie Irving is 27, gonna be 28 in a month. It wasn't too much of a stretch in 2016 when LeBron said that Kyrie was one day gonna be the best point guard in the league, when just in his 5th year as a 24-year-old, he dropped 41 points on a 73-win Warriors team and dropped a dagger in Game 7 of the NBA Final. It's been 4 years since those comments, and Kyrie is supposed to be at the peak or near the peak of his powers. Kyrie Irving is supposed to be a superstar right now, and while he has built a brand like he is one on the court, he hasn't really shown at a consistent level that he can be a superstar. But realistically speaking, if Kyrie continues to miss 15 to 20 games a year for the rest of his career, or that's a stretch, for a majority of the seasons for the rest of his career, let's just ask ourselves, how many more All-NBA teams can he really rack up? How many more accolades can he add to his resume? Winning a championship is going to be a big if, even with Kevin Durant when he's always injured like this. If I'm being honest, I'm starting to get the vibes that Kyrie Irving may be the next Derrick Rose, a player who had all the tools to be a top 10 player all time in his position, had glimpses of showing it, D Rose being his 2011 campaign, Kyrie being the 2016 finals, yet due to health has really sidelined the progression of their careers. I mean, let me ask you guys about this question. Damian Lillard does not have an NBA championship, and let's just keep it a buck, will probably never have one as he's been pretty adamant on staying with the Portland Trail Blazers, despite not having one. If Dame ends his career with 5 to 7 All-NBA selections, puts up great numbers, resulting in great totals, and keeps up this rate of playing 70, 75, 80 games a year in and year out, would you rank him ahead of Kyrie, even without a championship? Simply for the fact that Dame has been more reliable throughout his career, has put up amazing numbers, and has had better longevity. It's an interesting question to ask, and it really shows the effect of Kyrie's injuries.
Kyrie has proven to all of us that he's not a leader, and I don't understand this for the life of me. Maybe he surprised the world and become this better person overnight, but when he was with the Celtics, he wasn't a good leader.
I have seen zero evidence of Kyrie's intellect in a way that would be impressive. It's very clear to me he wants to be perceived as a smart guy. Maybe he is one. He has shown zero evidence to me from where I'm sitting that I would look at him and go, yeah, Kyrie's one of those, like, a real smart athletes you come across. Kyrie, very desperately, it seems to me, wants to be perceived that way, has shown me no evidence.
As far as the hate that goes towards Kyrie, I do think there is too much of it. In the Cleveland era, I do believe that he was right to request a trade. Before they brought in LeBron, he was expected to be the man of the team. That's why they signed him to a long-term deal. But just in a matter of a couple months after he signed that deal, LeBron James would instantly come to the team. I don't blame the Cleveland Cavaliers, but I also don't blame Kyrie for feeling a type of way. And then in their run together, everyone would always say LeBron had no help when they lost, when Kyrie was putting up numbers and never gets the credit that he deserves. I think the Boston era was just a series of events that people correlated to Kyrie being the problem, when the real problem, if anything, was his injuries and simply a personnel problem. And all of that just pushed Kyrie to the edge because he was being criticized way too much by his own fan base. And then the Nets so far, well, it's only been 1 year. KD hasn't returned yet, and people have made way too much of Kyrie's comments this year. I think his leadership has been questioned way too many times, and while yes, he has not proven to be a great one, I just don't think he's done much to prove that he's a bad one, when most of the time he's just simply injured or his words get misconstrued. Again, I think his health has been more of a detriment to his team's success than his leadership skills or on-court abilities, and for people like Max Kellerman to essentially call him a dumbass on national TV without really saying it, is just going a little too far. I'm really hoping the best for Kyrie. When he's healthy, him and Steph are my two favorite players to watch. To be that efficient and that prolific with the bag that he has is something I've only seen from a handful of players. Those players being the likes of Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, Tracy McGrady. There's not many players like him. I genuinely think Kyrie Irving is talented enough to have a career comparable to James Harden or Russell Westbrook or a Chris Paul, players who by the time they retire will be considered top 50 players of all time. However, because of injuries, Kyrie Irving sadly may fall in line with the Penny Hardaways, the Tracy McGradys, and the Derrick Roses if this keeps up. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section what y'all think about Kyrie Irving, his injury issues, his leadership issues. Whatever you guys want to talk about Kyrie Irving related, leave it in the comment section down below. Watch these two videos on the screen if you haven't already. But with that being said, I'm out. Peace.